On the morning of March 14, 2004, Margaret Sullivan vanished from the ordinary flow of daily life. At 9 a.m., 3 witnesses reported seeing her leaving the Oaks Community Library. At precisely the same moment, a security camera at a gas station 12 miles away captured her walking past the pumps. Both timestamps were verified, both locations were real, and yet Margaret Sullivan was missing. The library, a low-slung building along Fair Oaks Boulevard in northern Sacramento County, was partially obscured by a magnolia tree that shaded half the parking lot. The gas station, a faded chevron on Watt Avenue, had installed its security system just 6 weeks prior. The footage had been meticulously logged. Order of service, row 4, 228, recorded by Allied Security Systems on January 29 th. How could she have been in 2 places at once? No one knew. And that single impossible fact would mark the beginning of a mystery that would defy explanation. Between the library and the gas station stretched a tangled web of surface streets, where speed limits rarely exceeded 45 miles per hour, and traffic lights seemed to catch every third block. Even without morning congestion, 12 miles meant at least 18 minutes. Margaret Sullivan, 43, worked part-time as an administrative assistant at Mercy General Hospital and was a familiar face at the library's Tuesday morning book club. She wore her dark blonde hair in a practical bob, favored cardigans even in mild weather, and carried a spiral notebook in her purse where she tracked every dollar spent. Her husband, Dennis Sullivan, worked in maintenance for the Sacramento City Unified School District. Their daughter, Emily, was 19 and completing her first year at Sacramento State. They lived in a modest ranch house on Garfield Avenue, mortgage nearly paid off. A life carefully assembled from routines, planning, and habit. If you've ever wondered how a cold case begins, it often doesn't start with violence. It starts with impossibility. Subscribe and follow this investigation, because what happened next would take 17 years to untangle. Margaret had told Dennis she'd be home by noon to help prepare for a garage sale. The book club met promptly at 9 a.m., and she never missed a meeting. Phyllis Gordon, the librarian, remembered Margaret checking out 2 mysteries, The Lovely Bones and an older Sue Grafton paperback. Mentioning she needed to pick up printer paper at Office Depot on her way home at 9 a.m., Margaret signed the checkout slip and 3 minutes later pushed through the library doors into the cool March sunlight, keys already in hand. But at the very same moment, a woman matching Margaret's description, same height, same cardigan, same dark blonde hair, appeared on the Chevron security feed 12 miles southeast, filling the tank of a white Honda Accord. Margaret drove a 2001 Accord, license plate partially visible, 4G, something BY 2 p.m. Dennis Sullivan called the Sacramento County Sheriff's Dispatch. Margaret hadn't returned home. Her cell phone, a basic Nokia flip, went unanswered. Her book club friends confirmed she had left the library mid-morning. Meanwhile, the Chevron tape sat in a dusty evidence room, unreviewed for 16 days, until a deputy named Karen finally pulled it during a routine canvass. And when she did, the case stopped making sense. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department assigned Deputy Lynn Harris to lead the initial investigation, tasked with piecing together a trail that seemed to defy both logic and the laws of time. Deputy Lynn Harris was a soft-spoken woman with 14 years on patrol and a reputation for thoroughness in missing persons investigations. She knew the territory intimately. Sprawling suburbs that bled into farmland, pockets of undeveloped lots along the American River Parkway, industrial zones, and the overpasses where homeless encampments had taken root. In this landscape, a person could disappear without spectacle, swallowed by freeway noise, strip mall anonymity, and the vastness of Sacramento's outskirts. The initial search centered on a 10-mile radius around the library. On March 16th, 32 volunteers from Margaret's church, Good Shepherd Lutheran, scoured the parkway trails, checking rest areas and picnic grounds still brown and lifeless from winter. Sacramento in early spring offered mild days but cold nights, with lows in the 40s and highs barely touching 65. The American River ran high with Sierra snowmelt, its banks slick and treacherous with mud. Searchers moved slowly through groves of cottonwoods, calling Margaret's name into the wind. Nothing. On March 17th, Harris requested the library's exterior security footage. The building had 2 cameras, one covering the main entrance, the other watching the employee lot. Both had been functional, in theory. The entrance camera captured Margaret exiting at 9 a.m., walking toward the southwest corner of the parking lot, where her Accord sat beneath the magnolia tree. Then the angle went dead, magnolia branches obscuring the next 12 seconds. When the view cleared, the car was gone. The employee lot camera had fared worse. A maintenance request, ticket number 788, logged with the county facilities department, showed the power supply had shorted out overnight on March 13th. Repairs were scheduled for March 22nd, 9 days too late. Finally, on March 30th, Deputy Karen pulled the chevron tape. The timestamp glowed in the corner. 9:52 a.m., March 14th. A woman stood beside a white Honda Accord, pump nozzle in hand, face angled away from the camera. She wore a teal cardigan, confirmed by Margaret's friends as the one she had chosen that morning, and her dark blonde, shoulder-length hair caught the sunlight perfectly. But the math didn't work. From Fair Oaks Boulevard to Watt Avenue, the most direct route via Arden Way to Fulton required at least 16 minutes under ideal conditions. No traffic, perfect timing. Morning congestion would add 4 to 6 minutes easily. The window between 9:47 a.m. and 9:52 a.m. was 5 minutes. Harris drove the route herself 3 times, varying speed and lane changes. Even running yellow lights and ignoring stop signs, it couldn't be done. "We're looking at 2 women," Karen said during the March 30th briefing, tapping the chevron still photo. "Or someone is lying about the timeline." Phyllis Gordon, the librarian, stood firm. The checkout system recorded Margaret's transaction at 9 a.m. Margaret lingered another minute, discussing next week's book selection. She left, Gordon said, at 9:47 a.m. She had checked the clock to start shelving before 10:00. Meanwhile, the chevron tape carried its own ironclad proof. Allied Security had installed the system with NTP time synchronization, networked to the National Atomic Clock. The timestamps were precise, leaving no room for error. And so the impossibility remained. Margaret Sullivan had been seen in 2 places at once. Accurate to the millisecond, there was no drift, no error. The chevron timestamp was exact. On April 2nd, Harris requested Margaret's cell phone records. The last outgoing call had been on March 13th at 8:32 p.m. to her daughter Emily. 12 seconds, just a quick check-in. "I asked if I needed grocery money," Emily would later recall. After that, silence. Margaret's phone plan didn't include texting. No further calls, no pings to another tower. By mid-April, the search had consumed more than 600 volunteer hours, involved 2 K-9 units, and included a California Highway Patrol helicopter sweep along the American River corridor. Margaret's face appeared on grocery store bulletin boards and on the Sacramento Bee's missing persons page. Dennis Sullivan gave 3 interviews. His voice was steady but hollow, hands gripping the porch railing outside their Garfield Avenue home. "She wouldn't just leave," he said. "She had a garage sale to run." And then the case went cold, not with a bang, but with a bureaucratic whimper. There was insufficient evidence to support foul play. No body. No witnesses. Just an impossible timeline. By summer, Harris had moved on to other cases. Margaret's file sat in a cabinet, growing thinner as leads evaporated and thicker with unanswered questions. In the evidence room, the chevron tape remained on a shelf, logged and labeled, waiting. Standard procedure in missing persons cases. Interview the spouse first. Often the hardest. Deputy Harris met Dennis Sullivan 4 times during the first 2 weeks, each conversation longer, more pointed, more meticulous than the last. Dennis, 51, worked as a maintenance supervisor at 3 Sacramento elementary schools, Pony Express, John Still, and Earl Warren. He carried a district pager, drove a district truck, and kept detailed logs of every repair call, supply order, and work hour. On March 14th, Dennis punched in at Pony Express Elementary at 7 a.m. His assignment sheet listed a busted water fountain on the 2nd floor and a classroom door hinge that needed replacing. 2 teachers confirmed seeing him in the hallway around 8:30. Lunch was in his truck at 12:15. A Taco Bell receipt timestamped 12:02 p.m. He clocked out at 3:40 p.m. and drove home, only to find the house empty. "I figured she got held up at Office Depot," Dennis said. "She likes to browse the clearance aisle." But Office Depot had no record of Margaret that day. No purchases. No surveillance footage. When Dennis called at 2 p.m., he wasn't panicked, just puzzled. Margaret was punctual to a fault. When she didn't answer her cell by 4:01 p.m., he drove to the library. Closed. He tried Good Shepherd Lutheran, thinking she might have stopped to help set up for Wednesday's service. Reverend Thomas hadn't seen her to by 6 p.m. Dennis called the sheriff. Harris pulled his phone records, bank statements, and work logs. Everything checked out. No sudden cash withdrawals. No suspicious calls. No